Good morning, good afternoon, and of course, good evening. We're doing that thing that we did last week, actually, where I think we might even have three people where we have all bases covered. Good morning, good afternoon, and very much good evening. I'm joined, as always, by Enzo, who is to... this camera's in reverse. I was just about to say to right or left, and I lost all confidence then. But we've got Enzo next to me, and just in the screen just below, we have got a man who's very much the talk of the town at the moment. It's Jersey Jack designer Mark Seiden. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, we're very, very grateful to have you on. It's been busy few weeks for you.
Oh yeah, it's been really busy. Yeah, it's tiring but exciting. Yep.
Well, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure almost everybody does, Mark is the man responsible for designing Avatar, which is why it's been a really, really busy few weeks. And it is Avatar. It's Avatar: The Battle for Pandora. That's right, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I wanted to, since it's both movies, I wanted to have like a subtitle to distinguish it from the movie series and from the previous Avatar game.
And how have you been? How's the response been since it's been was released 2-3 weeks ago, the announcement, and now people have actually had hands on, haven't they?
Yeah, overwhelmingly positive. It's couldn't go better, I don't think. It's been a little surreal actually, and I'm very happy with how things are. The reception is.
I'm sure. Well, we'll get to Metroids in a little bit. But how was that? So this is it would be fair to say this is your first major pinball design, right?
Yeah, maybe 1.5 if we count the homebrew. But yeah, this is my first major design, first commercial game, first time actually having to make more than one of them.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this must have been quite a surreal experience for you as well. You know, sort of joining Jersey Jack. How has it been for you in the build up to sort of the announcement, and then what happened? I guess it announced, and you were just waiting for feedback to come through on it.
Yeah. So yeah, it announced the trailer came out amazing. Like that. I was normally like listening to myself talk, but like I could like just sit through it. Like so I knew that would be a good thing and get people hyped about the game. And once they played it, I was pretty confident they'd like it. But you never know. You know, it's hard to tell when you've been so close to something for 2.5 years. I worked on that. So
really,
yeah. So it's. I'm glad people saw what I saw in the game. So
when was it finished? When did you? When I say finished, not ready for release,
yeah.
But when, and I don't even really mean overly coding. When mechanically you felt this game is ready, that you were playing it comfortably, all the hardware's sorted out. How long ago was that? How long? I'm interested how long you've had to wait, because you must have been like a kid at Christmas, basically.
Yeah. We were working on the game right up to release, like working out problems and in production and things like that, making sure that it's going to ship out the best it can. But design wise, layout wise, it's been done for about a year, I'd say. So it's there's obviously been some tweaks, some mechs got redone or improved, but layout wise, yeah, it's been pretty much done for a year now. Yeah.
Enzo, you've been keeping your eye on everything in the pinball media. How has the response been? How have you felt from your end watching it unfold?
It's been really interesting, because obviously you guys hit the ground running with that little mini award-winning Oscar-produced 20-minute documentary, which was absolutely amazing. Probably the best video in pinball history, I think. And obviously, from the moment that kind of dropped, obviously we got teased before that with little, you know, they look like leaks and whatnot, but the little teasers. But, you know, from that moment that trailer dropped, it was like, I felt like every day we got something. And then within 24 hours, content creators had the game, they were touching and feeling it, and the internet just got flooded. And it all went from a lot of unknown and uncertainty. Within 24 hours, everyone was just so positive. Because, you know, I'm even the first one to kind of, you know, something comes out and I'm like, oh, I wanted to see more. I was expecting something else. And then obviously more videos come out. and you speak to other content creators and they go, no, it's complete opposite. You know, the game's awesome. But yeah, it's been flooded. Literally, my YouTube feed is just avatar flood at the moment, but it's all positive stuff. And the more videos came on, I joined the live stream with Flipping Out. You were on there doing the talk through with that. And that highlighted a lot of things I didn't even realize, obviously, even looking at the trailer. But yeah, like it's just every day learning more and every day finding stuff out, which I've got heaps of questions on, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, it's been a really, really cool, and I'm really happy for you guys because obviously Elton John was, you know, huge for you guys, and I think it's kind of elevated JJP to being more boutique and more better than what it was already before. But I feel that this launch has been like huge.
Yeah, I'd certainly from my end. Well, I'm hoping the avatar should be here next week. So I hope to have an avatar in here, and we're doing videos on it and doing a deep dive as we like to say on it, and certainly, you know, exploring it and getting a camera into the machine and learning to play it. So I'm really very much looking forward to that. But I certainly, as Enzo said, we were lucky enough to have, I think we possibly even had the first Elton John in Europe here. So we were really lucky. We got very, Jack's always been great, and JJP are always great with us over here. So we were really lucky to have that. And I remember getting in here and thinking, okay, this is where, you know, this is big. You could just tell instantly. And even though I don't think it had been on so slightly different this time because people played it on location. I think when we got Elton John, that many people hadn't played it on location. So I was saying, no, this is good. This is a big deal. This is going to be really big. And so I think off the back of that, to again get a release like this, and as Enzo said, for the release to be so well produced, I think immediately you've got people excited about the game. I've got a ton of questions on the game as well, actually. In fact, let's flip it around. Let's do your history in pinball first. I think we've both got quite a lot of questions in the game, if you don't mind, Mark. This decision to do the double under playfield. So you've got the two sections down to the pop bumper and then down to the little mini playfield. What was the inspiration for that?
So second movie has a lot of water in it. So I wanted to sort of represent the underwater areas, and the best way to do that, I felt, was lower playfields. And the inspiration to do two was actually because of Wizard of Oz's two upper playfields. So I was like, all right, Jersey Jack started off with two upper playfields. Let's do two lower ones this time. So that's where that went. The rear pop bumper lower playfield was originally designed so the player would control the pop bumper like a flipper. And we coded that up. We played it for a few minutes and we're like, no, this isn't gonna work. This is not fun. So we pivoted and we came up with the game it is now, where you're controlling the targets you're hitting as opposed to the pop bumper itself.
Yeah. I think you've got to be brave to do that, actually, to take an idea and then think, no, that's not working. We're gonna throw that out. How closely were you working with? Obviously, you have your team there. You have a team of coders. You've got artists and whatnot. But what must it have been like for you, as someone that I will get to your history in pinball in a bit, but someone that clearly loves pinball, to go in and work alongside Jack and work alongside somebody like Steve Ritchie? Yeah,
that was a great experience. I learned so much from Steve and Eric and Pat when he was there. It was like the game would not be as good as it is without them telling me what wasn't good about it, and what to fix and what to change. And they were very vocal, and they didn't like something, and they were right every time. So it was, they made the game. They helped make the game great. So,
but yes, there was a lot of. I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of pressure on you as a new designer. To come in and I'd imagine you must have been pretty nervous waiting for that release and waiting for it to come out then. I think I certainly would have been if I'd have been in your shoes.
Yeah, especially after how well Elton John was received. I'm going to get compared to Steve Ritchie now, follow-up, who has 50 years experience, and it's just me, like on my first commercial game. So that was that was stressful. It was like, uh-oh, now I got to live up to this stuff. Yeah, but
is it sorry, just before I forget, there's a little bit of delay on my end. Going back on Chris's question about the lower playfield, is it correct that I heard that the lower playfield with the flippers is running on low power and it's offset a bit to kind of give that water feel?
Yep. So the lower playfield, there's a few things to make it feel like you're underwater. The first thing I did was put in a 3/4 inch ball. So about a little smaller than 3/4 the size of the standard pinball. And that's that weight makes it play very differently. The playfield is offset about 20 degrees to the right, which gives a really weird feel to it. You're like, it's like, where's the ball going to go? You get used to it pretty quickly, but it's not like playing on the normal playfield. The flippers are running off of 20 volts, which is surprising that works. So they have a lower power, so you're not like ramming that ball all over the place. And the targets under the crab suit are all weird angles, so it'll bounce around in different directions. So it's a unique experience, I think, playing that lower playfield.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But it's actually about to appear in the UK Open, which at the point we release this video, the UK Open will be in full swing. So I think they're certainly really excited over here for people to get a look at that and a go at that. But with that, I'm very interested with that under playfield because, so you say 3/4 inch. What size is a regular pinball?
1/16.
Right. Okay. So it is. Okay. So it's just under 3/4.
Yeah. It's not like the Stewie mini ball. It's bigger than that.
Yeah, because I didn't. Don't get me wrong. Munsters. I think Munsters gets far too much criticism. I think Munsters. If you were listening to people would tell you that Munsters is the worst game in the world. But when I played it, well, no, I actually quite enjoyed this. But I didn't feel that the ball was. I thought it was too small and the flippers were too small. And I think that was my concern whenever I thought. So that's actually. So if you've got the slightly underpowered flippers, but you've got a 3/4, that's still a good weight of ball. I just felt the ball was very small, very light. It didn't feel like I was making pinball shots. So that's really interesting that you would you decide to do that. I think that's I'm going to be looking forward to playing that. What's been the feedback like, Enzo, on that under playfield section?
I think a lot of people, it's funny because like I'm a massive kind of upper playfield person and lower playfield. Like for me, like when I saw machines that have got 3 levels, I just get all excited and I'll probably buy anything that they make. But yeah, everyone's like really interested at how you have that experience with the pop bumper and then it feeds once you complete that into the crab area. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to play that. We get to play it in Australia in about 4 weeks, I think, from memory, 5 weeks. But yeah, everyone's saying the same thing. Can't wait to play that under playfield little area. So it's amazing how a small little area is creating so much excitement, on a pinball machine.
Well, I'd imagine, Mark, particularly with yourself and with new designers, the pressure to innovate and to find something new, that must be quite strong. I think. Listen, I think if you are, if you're Brian Eddy or you're Steve Ritchie, you can probably go out with a traditional design that you've used before, and I do think that was massively successful for Steve on Elton John. I really do, and I actually felt it was something that would perfectly suited JJP at the time, as I said. But do you feel the pressure when you're looking at it, thinking I've got to try something different here? I've got to make my own name and do something.
Yeah, I approached this. I didn't want to have somebody look at the game as like, oh, that's a Steve Ritchie game, or that's any other designer. Like, oh, this feels like them. I didn't want them to have that impression. So I had to come up with my own style. And a lot of that was fine-tuned in my homebrew. And kind of feel like that's the only other game that I feel like it feels like when you're playing it. I also, for this theme, I feel like the layout should sort of feel like the theme. So if you're making a game about an alien world, it should feel like sort of alien, something you haven't really felt before. So that was sort of my approach to how am I going to make my mark on the pinball world and my style.
Well, let's go back. So your homebrew was Metroid, which you made. I mean, that became that became very, very well known. You got a lot of exposure for that, which I'm assuming is what got you to the position where you are today at JJP. How did that come about? How did you start doing it? And what was the timeline on you designing and basically showing everyone a Metroid?
Right. So when that was a 5-year project, I started off just doing regular pinball streaming on Twitch. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a pinball machine, and I think I'm going to stream it, the entire process. So after a while, I went to a pinball show, Pintastic New England, and I bought a broken, dirty, rusty East Jurassic Park playfield with like half the mechs on it and things like that. It's like, all right, I'm gonna harvest this for parts, and I'm gonna start just like bolting things down and figuring out this pinball designing thing. And I did stream the entire build pretty much, including like even cutting the playfield. I believe I streamed on the CNC. That was it was probably pretty boring for people to watch it just like slowly cut out the playfield, but you could at least got to see like everything. Eventually, it wasn't at first. I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to do this for a living. It's just like, I just want to make a game. About halfway through, I was like starting to think like, I really like doing this. Maybe I could send my resume being the game, over to some of the pinball companies. Maybe they'll be interested in talking to me. I never actually did send it. Eric Minier actually reached out to me one day. He's like, "Oh, I've seen your build. You want to talk pinball?" I was like, "Yes,
of course."
So, 5 years, probably working about 10 hours a week on it. It's overtime, so it's spread out like 2 5-hour streams a week, going pretty late usually.
That's incredible, and I bet there were people when you started buying that older Jurassic Park Data East, and you would. I bet there were some people saying you're mad, you're crazy to be doing this stuff, and I think it's just lovely. As somebody said to me years ago, small doors can often lead into large rooms, and I think it's fantastic that it's ultimately led into you doing what you currently do as a job, which must be it has to be a dream come true for you. It must still be surreal, surely.
Yeah, I love doing it. It's great.
So what was your journey? Sorry, Enzo.
No, that's what I was about to say. I was so curious to know when you actually started. Like, have you played pinball all your life since you were a kid, or?
So I liked going to arcades as a teenager. But I was more of like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter kid. But I did play pinball. I remember playing Addams Family and loving it as a kid. Then getting actually into pinball, like 2000, 2001, went to there's an arcade, Dave and Buster's. It's a chain. Back then, they still had pinball. And was out on a date with my now wife, and we just sat on one pinball machine they had there for the entire evening. It was a Star Wars Episode 1. And as we were playing it, like for a couple hours, we're like, maybe we should get one of these someday. I was living in a small place, wouldn't have fit, but eventually we got married, got a house, and we're like, oh yeah, that's right, we wanted a pinball machine. We were both Doctor Who fans, so we're like, oh, there's a Doctor Who pinball machine. So that was the first pinball machine we bought. And as you know, you don't buy just one, and now we have 20.
Does she play it still?
Yes, she plays it. She runs a local Bells and Chimes chapter. She's heavily involved in the pinball community. She was a TD at Papa, and yeah, she's definitely into pinball.
That's wonderful. That is great. That's a great story. What's you're not allowed to pick JJP games because otherwise you'll give me the politician's answer. What's your favorite game?
Oh, that's tough. It's usually the newest one I have, but it's I really like No Fear. Looking around my games I have, it's just
which is Steve Ritchie, right?
It is Steve Ritchie, yeah.
That's still a politician's answer. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But yeah, I like a lot of the '90s games with the Bally Williams and such, so I tend to gravitate more towards those.
Yeah, which is interesting because of the time when you got into it, because you were more of an arcade guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because you don't like the Bally Williams games because they're nostalgic and remind you of your childhood, which is a right for a lot of people. You just like them because of the games.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique ideas that were done in those '90s games. Yeah, just love playing them.
Sure. I'm not going to ask you what it is, but do you know what game you're designing next? Are you working on your next game?
I haven't kicked off yet, but I am reasonably certain. But until kickoff happens, I'm not fully certain.
Did you start the layout for Avatar?
Mm-hmm.
Did you start the layout before you knew it was Avatar, if that makes sense?
I had drawn a few ideas. Part of my, I guess you would call it training. Pat Lawler had asked me to take Metroid and like fix it up and fix things that I didn't like about it and whatnot, and just basically polish it. So I did that, and I ended up polishing it a lot more than just changing a few things. And a couple of those ideas did just come out of that work and were put into Avatar.
That's fascinating. Okay. Did you take Metroid, your own Metroid that you made? Did you take that into JJP, or did you create a whole new Metroid?
I had the original CAD files for it, so I could reference that. Although I did have Metroid there for a couple weeks before I took the Expo when I first started.
So you have a Metroid 2.0?
Only digitally, yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
People were going to start offering you money at that
point.
No.
I am actually. I just received a new cut playfield for Metroid. I'm finally going to finish it. There is artwork that I commissioned from Brian Allen. He did cabinet, plastics, and playfield on it. So it's been on the back burner because making two games at once is double hard. But yeah, it's sitting right over there. I just received it yesterday, so gonna start gluing in some inserts and then send it off to be printed and clear coated and build everything up. Finally gonna finish that.
Amazing. Have you got an Avatar at home?
Not yet. I want a collector's edition, so I'm waiting for those to be built.
Enzo.
Metroid. I mean, I turned 40 this year, so Metroid was huge. I'm a massive gamer, a retro gamer, and Metroid was a huge theme for me. And I remember seeing that pop up. You know, obviously this homebrew that had been done, and was so impressed. And I was like, you know, like the other guys all started basically in a similar homebrew situation. And I remember looking at it going, whoever's done this, because at the time I wasn't really as deep as I am now in pinball. I just go and remember saying, whoever's done this is probably going to do big things, because it looks like one hell of a game for a homebrew. And even like when I saw Saw recently, I think someone posted a photo of Saw. I looked at that and I was like, that's homebrew? Jesus. You know, I was like, these homebrews are just next level. And that was impressive because for me, theme is huge. It's important. And especially when it's something that nostalgic like Metroid. I even remember still getting Metroid on the Super Nintendo as a Christmas present. You know, nostalgia is a powerful thing. So yeah, that was it's cool to hear that you took aspects of Metroid and put them into Avatar as well.
Yeah. That game is actually based on the Super Nintendo one. The Super.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's my favorite too.
I'm fascinated with this. What you said about Pat Lauder, and he said take that. I'm fascinated about this. Your sort of learning curve, your training, your education in that. That's very, very cool, actually. So do you? I always assume with Jersey Jack, because Jersey Jack, and I've been lucky enough to speak to Jack, and I think I asked him this question. I can't remember if it was on video or it was privately, and I asked him about budget, and I asked him about build materials, and he sort of didn't care so much, and it allowed. I very much got the impression that as a designer, for them, you're probably allowed to dream big. And in fact, you could possibly come up with a concept where you don't have to worry about money and stuff like that. As a designer, that must be pretty damn good for you guys to think, actually, I can invent this thing that that actually, if you decide that you want to do a double play field, you're not gonna. Someone's gonna say, no, you don't do that. It's two flippers and that's it.
Nope. They pretty much gave me free reign, and it is a high budget bill of materials game. It's but if on the other side, if something isn't working or if it's just not fun, they'll ask to take it out because you can't ship a game that's not fun. It's broken. So they give you a lot of freedom, but they still watching you like that's gonna fall apart type of thing. So it's and over time I'll learn that, and hopefully they won't have to say things like that, and we'll get the game out the way I want it.
No, what a first. I know obviously Metroid was your homebrew, but what a first game to put out, and it's you think about that, and obviously Jack Danger's done such good work over at Sturm and what he's producing now, but you think his first game, and I really liked it. I must say this, I really liked the Jurassic Park Home Edition. I thought it played really nicely. I really did, but it was very much that was his entry game. Some would say Foo Fighters, but it was Jurassic Park. It really was. I think to have that first game being as big a title as Avatar, which we've not even discussed the theme really as yet, and what that means to you, but I think is incredible. Enzo, I know you had a number of questions on the game.
Oh, look, with Avatar, it was interesting because I really enjoy the films, and when I heard a rumor that this was happening, I was like, okay, well, we've had one before. Granted, it was a long time ago, and now with the advances in pinball and all the tech and stuff, sure, it's going to be a great game. I was interested in obviously the scramp was cool. I think we've seen aspects of a scramp kind of before, but then I saw the other day the kickback that actually holds the ball with a magnet.
Yep.
I didn't realize in the trailer, I didn't see that at all, and I saw that in the flipping out game. Was that kind of stuff that you were adamant that you wanted to put in, or did that evolve as you were designing the game?
Those the kickback in particular was just an idea that I had when I was designing the game. I was like, all right, well, we're able to hold any coil, just reduce the power on it. What if I made it so we could hold the kickback out and it would catch the ball and then pop it? And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea, but will it work? When we finally coded it in, it was before we coded it in, that ball was not going up that wire form every time. So it was an inconsistent kick out. Once we coded it in, and Keith comes over to my office and is like, hey, I coded it in, you want to check it out? It worked beautifully the first time. It was getting it up there every time, consistent hits. So that I'm glad that idea worked out, because it looks cool too. Just to be able to have the ball pauses and you pop up that ramp. In fact, they've actually as soon as they saw it, they're like, can we put that in Elton? And I was like, no, it's my game. You can put it in Elton after release. So maybe it'll show up in another game.
Can they can code that in?
As long as the switches are in a spot that they can prep it quick enough, which I think in Elton it might be. The switch might be high enough. I don't know if there's any plans to do that, but it was discussed. Like, can we put this in other games?
Well, that's really smart, isn't it? That's just using hardware that's already there and just being creative with it and using software to run it, basically.
Just thinking of different ways to use old mechs.
Do you I'm just wondering, I'm trying to imagine myself being a pinball designer, which is quite a stretch for my imagination, because I'm not particularly creative in that sense, but there's obviously all these small things that Enzo just alluded to that are in the game. As a designer, you know they're in there, and this thing goes out to market or whatever, goes out onto location. You must be, it's just human nature, you must be watching it and thinking, I can't wait for people to spot this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Just people, I'm wondering, like, from watching different people play before it was released, like some shots certain people can never hit, and like other ones other people could hit it all the time. So I was curious, like, all right, how are people gonna find these shots? Are they going to they gonna enjoy them? Are they gonna see like all the little things that we hid in the artwork? Are they gonna notice like the little details we put over here, and like, will they notice that shot feels better because I did it 10 times and like just to get it right? So yeah, I'm just like analyzing everything and like wondering, like internalizing it and learning from it, and gonna apply it to the next game.
What are you most proud of in the game? Or please,
game itself, the whole package came together great. From the sound to the coding to the artwork, and just the fact that so many first timers to pinball came together and made this game. I'm really proud of that, like what we came up with.
So tell us about the team. Tell us about these some of the other first timers. Who else was there?
So obviously my first game commercially, first time pinball artist Leah Foskey, who works in the video game industry as her day job, and first time pinball musician with Grant Henry, aka Stemage, who actually I worked with him on Metroid, so not to an extent, because one of his bands is Metroid Metal. So he popped into my stream one day, and I had already been thinking, I want to use this music in it. And I was like, hey, are you the same Stemage who does Metroid Metal? And he's like, yeah, it's me. Can I use your music? And he's like, yeah.
Brilliant.
And so, and then he guided me on how to, like, what sound effect packages to buy and use in my game. And then his wife actually did callouts for Metroid. And then let's see, what other first timers? First time mechanical engineer in Rachel Frericks. She's great. Helped with make sure the scramp works right and all the other mechs, and she's awesome. And let's see, not so much first timers with Taylor and Jason on the coding team, but they because they worked on Elton also. But this was their first, I believe, start to finish game. There's probably other people that I'm forgetting. I'm sorry. No.
It's bound to happen. But clearly building quite a team there at JJP, and it was, well, Jack told me, he said we know what our next 3 releases are, so I mean it's clearly you're going to have a number of teams there anyway, which is which is really cool. Enzo, sorry, I feel like
I've got so many questions, so many comments, questions. So what I mean, artwork, again, liking Avatar, I mean, it must have been like, I'm just thinking about the Na'vi, because they've got all the little dots.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got to reproduce that on the artwork, which is really small. But obviously, I'm assuming that Disney wanted it to look as realistic to the film and as accurate, as possible. And I looked at that. I think someone did a close-up the other day, and I'm going, are there the dots? And I was trying to look at, so that must have been pretty cool. It must have been very hard for her to do that as well.
All the UV layers were That was actually a different artist. That was Mark Molitor. He did like the standard edition cabinet for Guns N' Roses. But yeah, the detail, we had to be movie accurate. Like this is like they were like saying this is their fingerprints, those dots. The pattern has to be correct. And you had to get the scale of the dots correct, and they're on the artwork. So like, and then they reviewed everything. They're like, all right, yep, that's right. So it was there's a lot of detail and thinking that went into making sure this is movie accurate. And there's another fun fact with the UV and the first movie at the end where he gets the big red bird creature, the Torok.
Yes.
You never see that at night in the movie. So this they had came up with what the bioluminescence looks like on that creature, but it was for like a video game that never got made. So this game is actually the first time where you see the Torok in bioluminescent mode. Like so we had a reference sheet that they had come up with for this video game, never got used. We finally got to use it, and that's on the back panel art.
Would it be fair to say, Mark, because I know this just from filming pinball machines myself, well, I'll do a video, and I'll often say when I'm doing a video, look, I can see this through the viewfinder, and I'm not doing this game justice. I say it all the time, because just the camera doesn't do it justice. I've not seen an Avatar yet. Would it be fair to say, just going on my own experience, that maybe representations that you might see on video of it in UV mode that you might see on YouTube are probably not giving you that full representation of what it actually looks like in real life?
Yeah. It's the UV doesn't pop as much because of all the detail. It's smaller. It's not like previous where it was just a giant pattern everywhere. So it's blending into the art. Like people are saying, I can't see the UV, but I'm like, I see the UV. It's right there. Like I know what it looks like. It's definitely different. And just the fact that like when you're streaming and filming, you have bright lights on it. I know this from being a streamer, that, and like I'm making this game and I'm like, this is going to be very difficult to video, very difficult to stream and get like the actual impression of what this game is. But making a better game is probably a better plan than making a game that looks good on camera.
Listen, you're totally right, but it is hard. As I say, I'm not just saying it because I speak to you. I had it even when I had Davey, my friend Davey Stumblaw's Tokyo Neon's mod here, and it does all these wonderful things. I was phoning him up saying, Davey, I'm really trying, but I don't feel I'm getting full justice on this. With what I'm seeing in front of my eyes is not what's happening on the camera. And I just always thought that I had it with Elton John here, and I had the camera here, and I was saying, look, there's so much depth to these. What do they call? What are the art? Not what's the rad cows. There was so much depth to the rad cows. With the glitter and the depth. You guys are both sat in front of him. You know exactly what I mean. And I just thought the camera's not doing this justice. So as soon as I saw that, it's the first time I saw Avatar, I thought, okay, yeah, I'm really going to need to. I'll work as hard as I can when I get the game in here to do the best justice possible. I've very much got that in mind. Was the whole process of designing a commercial pinball machine, there was a point where you must have thought, oh, maybe I can do this. How close is the reality and the difficulty and the complexity with the licensing and working with all these other people? And what's the reality compared to the perception of designing a commercial pinball machine?
I think people realize that it's a very hard thing to do. I don't think people realize how hard it is. I know I didn't coming into this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a team. This is going to be easier than doing everything by myself. No, way harder than I expected. Licensing, you got to do the license justice. This is their baby, not yours. You got to make the best Avatar game for Lightstorm and Disney. You have to, and if they don't like something, you don't put it in the game. So, but it's not to say that nothing bad about them. They were amazing. Like, they gave us everything we wanted. They were completely 100% on board with what we were doing and our vision. They just sort of guided us along to make sure it matches their world and their property. But sometimes that's like, you got to do every little detail on the faces and things like that. So and then they got to look it over. It's like, no, sorry, that's not right. So
hold on, I'm just speaking about the license and thinking about your timeline. If you started this 2 years ago, doesn't that mean that the second movie hadn't come out yet, though?
I hadn't seen the second movie. Kickoff was 9 months before the movie came out, so I had to do a lot of work just based on concept art and working with Lightstorm. Like, hey, what might this be, and what, like, things like that. So they did actually walk us through the movie with using concept art, the entire plot. Took like over an hour to go through it that way. So I knew what the movie was about. Although there are a few things that, like, you changed that. Like, when I actually saw the movie, there is some stuff that got cut from the second movie in there. Like, if you peer over the pop bumper, there's this little otter-like creature, Pandora otter, which was in the second movie, but they cut it. But we were able to slip him into the game.
That'll be in a director's cut in 3 years' time with a
probably,
box set or
probably 5 hour long film. When the game came out, right, I was like, is there an upper playfield? Is there upper playfield? I was hoping like floating mountain upper playfield. Was there an upper playfield at some point?
There was thoughts of an upper playfield in the back right corner. But it was already getting pretty packed, and I didn't really know it was getting to be a lot. Let's put it that way. Already. So I rethought that. I was like, all right, maybe we don't need, that would have been 7 flippers. Like, it's like, it's been getting a bit ridiculous at that point. So I made the decision not to go in that direction. And I thought, all right, well, we need something in the air over there. So how about we jump into a spinner?
Which is cool.
Yeah.
That was my next question.
So that I love that spinner shot. People curse it because it's kind of tough, but it's really valuable if you build up that Eclipse jackpot up there.
Why is it tough? I've obviously seen it in the only in the promo video, but it's hard. It's quite steep, isn't it?
It's a steep ramp and a reasonably narrow but findable entrance.
Okay.
Yeah, I find I can hit it better if I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's I'm very, very interested actually just in this whole concept of the lower playfields, particularly bearing in mind you must have run out of space under there. There must be. Is it heavy? Is it heavy? I don't know. Is it a heavy pinball machine? I need to know if it's got to lift it in the house.
Yeah, I think it's Hobbit heavy.
Oh no! Damn you!
Your back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Elton John was so heavy.
Yeah.
Like, I've never lifted a game that heavy in my life. So it's interesting to know how heavy Avatar is.
Yeah, but if you see an under the playfield picture, there's no more room to fit anything under there, really. It's like somebody points out, like, oh, you can put a drop target there. It's like, yeah, but that would be right in front of the flipper. Like, like, nobody wants that.
Yeah, you've got to put wires and mechanisms under there as well.
Yeah. It was so packed. And then building the Whitewood, someone goes, well, where are you gonna put your playfield controller board? And I was like, my what? So apparently we have this board that is in every game, which drives the lights, basically. It's like the main hub of the entire playfield. I had to find a spot for that. And I originally had it in the back, and I kept banging it into the transformer. So I'm like, nope, can't go there. So I ended up finding a spot midway on the side that it could fit in.
But that's the experienced team there. You've got all these ideas, and there's certain practicalities. Yeah, that's incredible. Actually, I've very much, because it's coming here, I'm not looking at it. I'm purposely, because it kills my initial reaction video if I've already got opinions on it and whatnot. Is there a I understand why you wouldn't say what if you've got a favorite part to it. Have you got a favorite shot on it? What you must have one you're particularly pleased with. What is that?
The upward spiral shot off the back of the scramp. It's a really tight shot off of the upper right flipper, but it loops around quick, goes up the back of the scramp, and rotates around again. And it's even more fun if you combo it off the orbit, because that's like a triple spiral upward.
Oh, nice.
So it feels really good. It looks really cool when you actually hit it. It's like the ball is like coming at you and then swooping down around the Banshee, and you got some time before it gets to your flipper.
You know what? It's great just to hear how enthusiastically you described that. You clearly, you clearly love your pinball, and you're clearly very, very pleased with what you've produced here, which I think is absolutely amazing. Are you, Enzo? Are you looking forward to getting your hands on? You said they're coming over to Australia in a month.
Yeah, so we've got the Melbourne Expo. I think the guys are trying to get Jack over for it. The obviously the JJP distributor. So I think that's the end of November from memory.
Melbourne.
In Melbourne, yeah. But everyone's talking about it. Obviously, we've got group chats here because I'm in Perth, which is the most isolated city in the world. So we're the opposite side of Australia, and we've got group chats all talking about it. A lot of the guys, I've got about 4 or 5 mates that have ordered a CE, so they're obviously waiting for that one. I think what's gotten everyone is, apart from the fact that obviously that trailer documentary was phenomenally shot, the experience it's created and the captivating, pulling you in of the story, and you don't even need to play the game, just by looking at it, it pulls you in. And I think that's, to me, is probably without obviously even playing it and listening to it, is what is the biggest part of it. A lot of machines don't do that. They might be a great game, but if someone has to drag you over to play it, or you'll go, well, no one's playing that, I'll play that today. And then you're like, wow, this is a great game. But yeah, the thing that got me with Avatar was just the way it looked, and obviously the presentation. But yeah, we've got, I think it's probably the most talked about JJP over here for sure, without a doubt.
That's really interesting, actually. You made me think there, Enzo, because what you're really saying is I think it's got atmosphere.
Huge.
And I'm
Huge.
thinking now. I mean, you've got one behind you there that's got atmosphere. To be fair, in Stranger Things, but I'm now thinking actually it's a whole separate part of a pinball machine, and not all of them have got it. Not all pinball machines have got atmosphere. A lot of it's a lot of fun games. Some of my favorite games have, but what to have that atmosphere to draw you into that, to draw you into the world and make you feel like you're sort of part of something and part of an event. And I do wonder if the lights going off is going to be a big part of that as well. But I do think what James Cameron did, and I'm not going to pretend to know lots about the films. I've seen both of them. In fact, I've seen the first one twice. I've definitely seen it's The Way of the Water, isn't it? This the second one, which is really good, and I've loved the I don't know what it's called. You'll know what it's called, Mark. But the whale, the big whale in it, and yeah, and I think that's really cool. With what they did there, it's beautiful. The world is stunning. It's visually stunning, and I think one of the triumphs that they did. 3D never took off in the way that it probably should have done. Everyone was meant to buy these TV. I bought one. I bought a TV and I had glasses. My kids had glasses, and my whole family had glasses. And I think the whole point was we were meant to sit there for the rest of our lives, and everything we watched was going to be 3D. It just never really happened. But I don't think you need it, and I think it's a testament to that film that the second one, The Way of the Water, when it came out, was just as visually stunning. and obviously I'm yet to see the game in the flesh, but I suspect you'll have hit the mark on it. There must have been a lot of pressure on you to create that atmosphere and to make it as much like James Cameron's world as you have.
Yeah, I wanted it to feel like Pandora, so that's why we went with the blacklight stuff. That's why we went with like all the colors and the artwork, and just it's a very visually stunning film. Like just the best CGI that's probably been done in a movie. Like it's like you forget it's CGI, and that's pretty rare. So we wanted to capture that beautifulness of Pandora and translate it to pinball. How could we make this mini Pandora under glass? Which was the approach that was in my mind, the front of my mind at the whole time of designing it. Is like this has to be Pandora. Like you have to feel like you're on Pandora. So I hope other people feel that. I feel like I succeeded, but yeah.
Well, we'll let you know. But I think that's quite a responsibility to do that. But a compliment that you were asked to do that as well.
Yeah, yeah. They told me I was doing Avatar, and I'm like, you mean like the best selling movie of all time? Okay. No starter licenses, I guess.
No. No.
Who's So with the call-outs, I heard some of Lang's call-outs. So Lang is doing some of the call-outs?
Yeah, we recorded 400 of his lines, mostly antagonizing you. And we had the two Navi actors first, so that's why they're fleshed out a bit more. We're still working on integrating more of the Stephen Lang stuff we have into the game. So he shows up. I would prefer if he was like weighted a little higher, so you'd hear, if he does have a call out, you'd hear him more often than the other Navis. I think they're all weighted equally there right now, so it's kind of random when you hear him. But he did a great job on this. Like at the end of the recording session, we had some extra time, so I just asked him, "Hey, could you just in character insult the player for a bit, just ad lib?" And we got so much good stuff out of that.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's what you want to hear, really, isn't it? I do. I always like it when any games do that, and you're sort of getting insulted. I think it's
because like up to then I was writing the script for him, and like he knows the character better than I do. Like so, like we got some really good in character stuff for that.
No, that's brilliant, and yeah, I mean, testament to you guys for getting him. I think, yeah, I think, I mean, you're blessed, I guess, because you got movie stuff anyway, which you could use some of the movie audio for the call-outs, which I think is really, really good. But I think if you can get one of the movie actors as well, and
no one in the movie is yelling jackpot. So, like...
It's true. It's true. You can't harvest that, can you? No. But I also think it's pretty cool getting the villain. I think getting the villain is really, really important. And he is nasty. He is a nasty villain when I can't remember what it's called, but when he blows that tree up in the first one, you want to kill him.
He's sitting there drinking coffee and like blowing up trees.
Yeah, you nasty man. I thought it was a good film. And to be fair, I don't know if I mentioned my sister works for Disney. Well, actually, two of my sisters worked for Disney until very recently, and and she certainly was telling me the most recent Avatar film. She was saying, "No, this has been, the biggest thing that we've done this year. This has been really, really good for the company, and the Way of the Water," she said, has done really, really well. When is the next one out? Do we know? Sorry, you said earlier.
December of 2025.
Okay. Well, I think you may well find that you get another surge of sales then from this. Maybe. Because I would think so. Enzo, anything else that you wanted to ask Mark?
Whether you can answer this or not, I don't know. At this point in time, like as of today, if I played the machine, where's the code? Is it like 60% complete, 70% complete? Like if you had to throw a number at it?
I would put it closer to 90. it's at this point, a lot of the changes are polish, getting things that we have, assets we have in there. The 2 wizard modes are not in there quite yet, but we have all the assets, what's planned out, all the audio, things like that. The Pandora wizard mode, which is the easier one to get to. I don't know if it'll be in the next update, which may come out later today. I'm not sure. But it's being worked on. It will probably be in the next one if it's not in this one. Yeah, there's a lot of score balancing stuff coming out. Some improvements, things we've noticed, the way people play, tweaks to sort of like make modes more valuable, things like that, and not just go for multi-ball.
Do you find it hard? I mean, obviously, you make a machine, you guys play the final product, and then you produce these games, and then you're like, well, hold on, the first one off the production, let's play that one.
Yeah.
Surely it must be a very different experience from the one you guys have built and played.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
that
definitely.
must be completely different.
So the prototypes played pretty mean compared to the production machines. So that's why the code is balanced the way it is. It's like, okay, we got to like sort of give the player a little more and things like that. And then we pulled the first playfield off the production line, set it up and played it. And it was like, this shoots smooth as butter. It's very friendly. I'm getting 9,000 extra balls.
yeah. But that's the way you want it. You want it that way round, really.
Yeah. So I was getting a little worried that it would like the production ones would also play that mean, even though like in my head, it's like I know it's not supposed to play like this. But it was a relief to play that, and it's like that I knew everything was going to be okay at that point, except we had to cut back on the extra balls and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm really looking forward to playing this game. I cannot wait, and I just think it's really, as I say to everybody, I think it's a really, really good time for pinball at the moment. I think you've come in at a great time. You're working for a great company there. We're going to allow you to be creative in your thought process and not overly drag you back with any financial constraints or anything like that. And I just think it's what I love is and listen, for you, you've been here all the time, but for us, I think it's great to have another pinball designer out there. I think it's really good. I think competition is good, and I think the fact that you're working with so many other creative minds like Eric and like Steve, obviously, and I think that's really, really helpful for you guys. To carry on producing really good machines. I'm excited to play Avatar. Excited to see what you guys do next as well, as I said last time. Enzo, any final words?
No, look, I will say that I was really happy to see you and Jack Danger together, because I think there was such a divide in the world of pinball, because it can be a bit of a nasty place sometimes, where everyone was like, you're either one or the other, and I don't understand why we can't be both. Pinball's meant to be a happy place, and it was so good to see Jack playing your game and you guys hanging out, because I think that just brings everyone together, to be honest.
Yeah, the internet is a very different place than the real world.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It really is.
But no, looking forward to it, and mate, congratulations again. It's got everyone talking, and like I said, the internet's flooded with Avatar at the moment, so I'm sure we'll be for a long time still.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to flood it with some more Avatar within the next couple of weeks, so don't worry about that. Mark, it's really kind of you to spare your valuable time and join us. I appreciate it. I know Enzo appreciates it, and certainly the subscribers are really going to be fascinated by what you had to say. And just thank you very much, and thanks for designing a great game.
Well, thank you for having me on. This has been great.
Thanks a lot. All the best. Good luck.
All right, thank you.